Jacob here tonight with a video entry into Mr. Hall of Fame's 6,000 subs contest. Brandon has hit 6,000 subs, and to show his gratitude, he has given away 3 prizes. One of the prizes he's given away is a box set from ZZ Top called Cinco Number 2, which has their 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th studio albums in their catalog. He's also given away a copy of Supertramp's Breakfast in America. It is a Mrhoffame edition. And then the third prize he's given away is a set of coasters in which the winner will be asked to share their 4 favorite albums, and Brandon will make sure that those album covers are on the coasters. But to enter the contest, it's pretty easy. You, 1, have to be subscribed to his channel. 2, you have to do a video entry. And 3, you have to answer 5 questions from Brandon. And there is a bonus question in which you will get a second entry. So the first question that Brandon has asked us to respond to is to name a song with scary lyrics or lyrics that creep you out. And the first song that came to mind for me was from the album Core by Stone Temple Pilots, and that was their song Wet My Bed. It's not really a scary song or has creepy lyrics. For me, it's more about the delivery of how Scott Weiland sings the song. It almost has a spoken word sound to it. And the lyrics are him just basically saying, "Hey, where's Mary? Where's Mary? I can't find Mary." And to me, it just, I think that that Scott Weiland, the persona he's portraying in the song is of a crazy man. And I like to imagine that Mary is either tied up and gagged somewhere in a basement, or she's been killed by Scott Weiland. So that's my take on scary lyrics or creepy lyrics.
Hey everybody, where did Mary go? Where did Mary go? And where's my only cigarette? Please think for me, I can't bear to. I'll just lie here for a while, wet myself, wet my bed. I readied it all for her, you know.
The second question we were asked to answer is, what is the most stressful part of your collecting process? For me, it is getting an album that you feel like you have to have, and then listening to it once, whether it's from cover to cover or just playing the songs that you are familiar with, and then it goes on a shelf, never to be touched again for months or maybe a year. I will say that since I became a member of the VC, I am revisiting a lot of these albums that I haven't touched in a long time. So that's been good, but that's just something that's always kind of stressed me out, because in my mind, I think I gotta have that album. I get it, I play it, it goes on a shelf, and I don't play it for sometimes a long time. So I'm hoping to get better at that and relieve some of that stress. The third question was to name 3 songs or albums that played a significant part in 3 major events in your life. Alright, the first one I'm going to share with you is Eric Clapton, and this is his solo album, his first solo album. And I can remember being in high school, and I was a big Eric Clapton fan. It was about the time when Unplugged came out, and I was wearing a t-shirt. And my friend Matt and I kind of bonded over wearing this t-shirt. I mean, he, shared his love of the Beatles with me. I, shared my love of Eric Clapton and Led Zeppelin and some of those bands, and we just became really good friends. We're still good friends. And so it was just through a t-shirt that we just kind of bonded, and our love of music has kind of kept us together as friends all these years. So, Eric Clapton. The second one I'm going to share is Bush, The Science of Things. And this came out in 1999. My wife Erin and I had just met and were getting to know one another. And I remember this album had just come out, so every time I hear, The Chemicals Between Us or War Machine, Jesus Online, it always takes me back to those days of when my wife and I were starting our courtship. The third album I'm going to share is the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. And I have twin daughters that will be 18 here in a few months, but I can remember when they were babies and we were putting them to bed at night in their cribs. We would always turn on this Beatles lullaby CD, and it was nothing but instrumental tracks, kind of in the vein of a toy piano or a music box. And as they were falling asleep to that CD, I would go in every night and sit on the floor and I would sing the lyrics to the songs. And when I thought the kids were asleep, I would slowly get up, walk over to the door, and no sooner than I had my hand on the doorknob, one would raise their head up, and I would have to just stop where I was and just start singing, "Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to strawberry fields." And I would just have to start the whole process over again until they were both asleep or not stirring anymore. So that's just a good memory I have of my daughters of when they were babies. All right, question number 4 was to share 1 to 5 songs about places that you've actually been. First up for me is another Beatles album, and that is Abbey Road. I work for a major printer company, and I've had the good fortune of being able to travel the world. And I've been to Sydney a couple times, Singapore, the Philippines, Beijing, and I've been to Europe several times. And it was one of my recent trips to Europe that I got to go to London. And so I was able to visit Abbey Road and do the whole crosswalk thing and take a picture in front of the Abbey Road street sign. So for me, it was like visiting Mecca as a Beatle fan. The second album is BRMC's Baby 81, and on that same trip to Europe, we stopped in Germany, and we got to visit Berlin, and the second track on this album is Berlin. The third album I'm going to share is Counting Crows, August and Everything After. And my good friend Matt, who I mentioned earlier, moved to Nebraska after high school. And he was living in a city called Cozad. One winter, I flew out to Nebraska to visit him and landed in Omaha, which is the second track on the album. And as we're driving from Omaha to Cozad, it was like a 3-hour drive. I just remember it was nothing but flat land. I'm assuming it was cornfields, but it was wintertime, so nothing was, in the fields. But I just remember thinking, this is definitely somewhere out in middle America. It was completely different from what I was used to. I live in Kentucky, so I'm used to green horse farms and hills and all that stuff, but Nebraska was just nothing but flat land. So Omaha just always makes me think of my trip to see my best friend Matt. All right, number 5. Ask 2 people you've never spoken to about music what their 3 favorite bands are. I asked one of my coworkers on Friday, he's from the Philippines. I was like, "Hey man, I've got a question for you that's completely non-work related. I'm getting ready to shoot a video for YouTube, and I just want to know, what are your 3 favorite bands?" I said, I know that you're from the Philippines, and there's probably bands there I've never heard of. They don't have to be mainstream, but please tell me, what are your 3 favorite bands? He said, the Beatles, cool, Oasis, cool, and the Stone Roses. I was like, man, that is awesome. I am a huge Britpop fan, and to hear you name those bands, he's like, yeah, when I was in high school, I had a CD compilation called Britpop in a Box, and it had like 90 songs from different British bands. And he started rattling off bands like Oasis and Blur, Manic Street Preachers, the Boo Radleys, James, Shed 7. I was like, man, those are all bands that I listened to in the 90s that no one else has even heard of. So Rod Walker, if you're listening, I'm sure you're very familiar with these bands, but it was just great for me being able to talk to someone about Britpop. So that was fun. The second person I spoke to was also a co-worker. She is a little bit older than me. I'm 42 and she's almost 50. And she was telling me, you know, that she grew up in the 70s and 80s, but she had two older brothers, so she was exposed to, you know, their music like, you know, Led Zeppelin and The Who and Pink Floyd. But she said that, you know, her favorite band, or one of her favorite artists was Aretha Franklin, and that her favorite song from Aretha Franklin was Dr. Feelgood. She said, you know, growing up in the 80s, that she was also a fan of the hair bands, and that she really liked Motley Crue, and that her favorite song from Motley Crue was Home Sweet Home. The third artist that she said she liked isn't like a rock star or something like that. She said she really enjoys listening to soundtrack scores, and in particular, she said she likes listening to, I think his name is Michael Giacchino. He did the soundtrack to Star Trek Beyond and the Bad Times at the El Royale. But she said that she just really likes listening to soundtrack scores at work because it helps her focus on what she's doing. There's no lyrics to distract her, and it's just something that she enjoys doing. So Kirby and Allison, thank you for your responses. That's going to do it for my responses. Brandon, congrats on your 6,000 subs. I am new to your channel. I think I subbed your channel a couple weeks ago, but I was on my lunch hour on Friday, and I noticed that Massey had posted a video entry into your contest, and so had Rod, the Happy Hippie Vinyl guy. So I just wanted to jump on board, show my support, and wish you all the best. Oh yes, the bonus question. Brandon said he's a big fan of people that kind of do music room tours, I guess you would say. So for an extra entry, Brandon has asked for us to share our music area, and so Brandon, I'm happy to do that. So that's going to do it for this video. If you're new to my channel, I invite you to please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be made aware of when I do post new content. Until next time, thanks and take care.